Thank you all for checking out this week's episode. Once again, I'm John. If you like what you heard and saw today, subscribe to our YouTube channel, find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and check out our brand new merch store with hats, coffee mugs, t-shirts, other cool stuff coming down the pipeline. Again, thank you all for support. Be safe and see you next week. How's it going, everyone? John here, the host of Spirit Talk, and today get to welcome the incredible Robert Irvine to the show. If you're not already aware, Robert is an award-winning chef, fitness authority, and philanthropist. You can see some of his work on the Food Network, Dinner Impossible, Restaurant Impossible, Worst Cooks in America, involved with the Robert Irvine Foundation, a member of the Royal Navy, which we're going to talk about, loves the support of the military, involved in different corporations, organizations, beer, liquor, food, restaurants. It's great to have you out here, Robert.
Thank you very much. I'm excited.
It's I kind of want to, before we kind of jump into like the whole the work, the Royal Navy and all, like how you got your start. One of the interesting things about you is you're always in the news for doing something, whether it's work related, fitness, philanthropy. It's like, how does someone like you stay grounded in who you are, but also realize you're being pulled in so many directions and different avenues?
It's a great question. I think it's you have to have somebody in your life, whether it be your wife, your husband, your partner, whatever. You have to have somebody that keeps you grounded. And I say that because if you think about a TV show that's in 170 countries with 1 billion viewers, you go anywhere. And I was in Honduras a couple of years ago with the military and getting stopped on the street of Honduras by people that watch Restaurant Impossible. So I think a lot of that is to do with, look, I'm almost like a circus. I live on the road 345 days a year. My wife does television on the opposite spectrum of that in wrestling. So I think she grounds me much better than I ground myself. Although, over the years, I think you learn to control and what's the word I'm looking for? Understand the power that you have as a voice. And you have to be careful with that because there's pluses and minuses. Because yes, you can draw attention to a great cause, but if you say something wrong, you're held accountable.
Right.
So I think there's a very fine line there.
Well, it's like the idea itself of being a celebrity chef is always, I get the idea of celebrity, and I do security for a lot of celebrities and different stuff, and I get why they're celebrities, but people like you and having worked near and around Guy Fieri, there's a celebrity attachment to it, but knowing Guy and then obviously speaking with you and knowing about you, the idea of celebrity doesn't come off as, you're not a celebrity. I think people know you from that stuff.
I hate that word.
Okay, right.
Look, and you'll laugh what I'm going to say next. But I say to people, and I was introduced to some chefs last week that I was doing some events with, and way younger than me, obviously. And I said, look, I'm a guy that cooks eggs, right? I'm not a chef. I don't like the moniker celebrity. They're the Tom Hanks and the other things of the world. They make a lot more money than I do. Do I believe they use their celebrity for the right reasons? Some of them not, some of them yes. I like to believe that I've been given an opportunity, or multiple opportunities, by the way, not just one. And it took me a while to figure out what and how to handle that and how to use that for the right purposes. So grounded is every day you wake up and you see that somebody's suffering worse than you are. And I'm not talking about financially. I'm not talking about living in a big house or a big car. I'm talking about struggling with life in general, right? Whether it be with kids, whether it be the wife, whether it be, all of the above or out of work. And I get to see that every week when I do a TV show, when I walk into somebody's life cold and realize that they're struggling because mistakes they've made and they continue to make, and the family that stands behind that have no recourse on whether mom or dad decide to get in the restaurant business, mom or dad decide to be in a drone business, the clothing. It doesn't matter what business. It's they suffer, and I have the ability to change that, whatever that is. And I think that's the grounding piece. Look, there's Jeff Bezos, there's all these rich and famous guys, some of which do great things for charities and some of which don't. That's the choice they make. My life is given to service of others.
Well, to your point, a lot of stuff you do, it comes off as very like you would, if there was no cameras there, you're still going to do what Robert Irvine does. And I think that's what is relatable to people. People believe into the idea if there is going to be someone of your nature attached to this, are they doing it for their own because they have to, because maybe they just got arrested and now they got to look good in front of whoever. But the fact that you are with veterans or with underprivileged families, there's people like that where it's like, no cameras here. Robert's still doing his Robert thing. And I think that's admirable in a society today where we all live in our phones and people want that constant admiration of, oh, look at me, I'm helping people. Where you shut all the cameras off of the world, these people are still going to be helped by you as best they can.
Yeah, look, there are agencies, and you know this, you've seen it, you've worked alongside celebrities and all the things that you've done. To me, it's not about a camera, it's about connecting. I just finished with CZ, which you just had on, with a 56-mile march with 1,000 coalition wounded after coming straight from Normandy, right? So for me, it's every 2 miles, every mile, and somebody from Germany, Lithuania, Australia, wherever, that's been injured, whether physically or mentally, and I get to talk to them about the support that they're not getting in their own countries, and think, how can we make a difference in our foundation? We'll get that later, but how can we make a difference right then and there in that person's 2 minutes or 3 minutes? Because it's like, you pass and you go back and forth and you get to speak to as many people you want to speak to. But what I found over the last 10 years of doing that is you make lifelong friends, and we can help. Somebody pick up the phone, Dave Goldfein, who was a chief of the Air Force, picked up the phone and said, look, I want to bring back translators from Afghanistan. Can you help me? Absolutely. What do you need? How do you need it? And when do you need it? Let's do it. And we did. And I think I don't answer to a big corporation. We are a pretty big corporation, 13 companies, 7,500 people, in all aspects, whether it be nutrition or clothing or drones or whatever else. So I get to make those decisions instantly. I don't have to like other folks say, oh, can we do this? We do it.
Right.
And when a friend's calling me, there's a reason he's calling me. So, and I think that's the beauty of my life is I don't have to answer except my wife.
Yeah. And that's the only one that scares you probably. When it comes to, have you always, like, the idea of being a leader is, I think the effective leaders aren't ones that tell people they are a leader. You just see how they present themselves. And for someone like you, being thrust as you go through your career on all avenues and aspects, people look at you as a leader. And is that something that was hard to come by or understand? Or like, what changes have you had over the years where to become a better, more effective leader, whether in the kitchen or the house or doing philanthropy work, that you kind of realize that, man, in order to be really good at this, I have to always be willing to learn, adapt, and listen and understand to people?
Well, no, because I would disagree with that for a second, because I would say when I was 11 years old as a Sea Cadet, and growing in military bases on the weekends and camps and warships and bases and all those kind of things, I was a natural leader, meaning, and I'm going to split this into two pieces because it's kind of oxymoronish if you listen to what I'm going to say. So I would go to these bases, and eventually I joined the Royal Navy. I get put into a class when there's a guy who went to college that is now my boss, right? In a dormitory of 12 people. My kit was perfect. My boots were polished like Buckingham Palace. I mean, literally, because I've been doing this since I was 11 years old. I joined the Navy at 16, 15 and a half, 16. I walk in. I know the drill. I know the bed make. I know all that. And it's kind of funny because I was not a team player. I was an isolated human that thought, as long as my stuff's good, it's great. Yeah. And it wasn't until my chief at that time came up to me and he said, I'm going to throw you out of the Navy. And I said, what do you mean you're going to throw me out of the Navy? My kit's perfect. I'm 100. I mean, literally, I was 100 out of 100. And he said, you're not a team player. And I said, well, what does that mean? It's up to these guys to put the effort in. And if they're not putting the effort in, then why should I worry about it? And it took me a minute he gave me a whole lecture on it, by the way, but it was one of the best lectures I've ever had, because at 2:00 in the morning, the next morning, I tipped 11 people out of bed, literally out of bed. And they're all mad and angry. The lights went on, we're going to fight everybody. And I said, no, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to show you how to clean your boots, fold your bed, press your uniform. And we're going to do it together as a team for every night. And I don't care if it's 2:00, 3:00 in the morning, until you get it right, because you're all making me look bad. And it's kind of weird, that transition of now I have a leader that they put in charge of me, and I've just flipped him out of bed and taken over. And I've been doing that for the rest of my life since then. I was never a good listener. I had to learn that. And even till 10 years ago, on a TV show, I would walk in, I didn't know what was going on. You'd tell me a story and I would give you a plan to fix it. I wouldn't listen to you because I know what to do to fix the problem immediately. It takes me 5 minutes to look at a balance sheet, or to look at a restaurant, or to look at any business. And then about 9 years ago, I realized, maybe you should listen a little. It was my wife that actually said that to me. And I said, why? I'm teaching them. They're not teaching me. And in fact, I got more out of listening for the first 10, 15 minutes and understanding what their visions were and what they felt was going wrong and all those kind of things. And it made my job actually easier. Instead of steamrolling them and being so intense, I'm very intense in a work environment. And I would listen, and now you can see the difference, and I can see the difference in the shows where I actually get more out of the people and get more information transferred to them, because they really are bought into the system because I've actually listened to them. Right. And that's leadership, believe it or not. So I wasn't good at it to start, not even in the military. I was like, this is how it's going to be done. But now I've learned that listening is 90% of leadership.
It's when you've talked about your 4 pillars of leadership: empathy, authenticity, and the last 2, losing ego and trust. It kind of goes to what you're saying in terms of your kitchen or your businesses, your everything you are, the team you surround yourself with. I mean, you're only as good as your weakest link, right? That is that cliched saying, but it's interesting to hear you say how even somebody like you had to kind of go through that and realize that in order to go to the next level, I need the right people around me. And you talk about your wife, Gail, and people like CZ, and these people that you work with and around that are only making you stronger. And it's funny when you talk about CZ, and yesterday we talking about leadership, and we actually talked about ego and confidence, and that fine line between, hey, if you're CZ or Robert Irvine walking into a room, like, you already know the weight of what these people are. You already know the background, the training. It's like, so to kind of like, again, be an active listener, and maybe it's just leadership to me is such a fascinating thing, whether it's kitchen or military. It's cool to actually have both of you kind of back to back like this.
It's funny because the kitchen brigade, as it was set up way back in Escoffier's time, was based on the military. There was an executive chef, meaning a chairman. Then there was an executive sous chef. Then there was the chiefs. So it's very similar in the brigade system. There was always going to be, we have a program in the foundation where we put dogs with servicemen or women or fire trucks, whatever. And it's so much relies on the dog, right? So we put one person in a room with 5 puppies. One dog will automatically go to that person. We take that dog out, then we put it with another 4 dogs and send the same person in to see if it happens again. And if it happens again, that's the dog you're going to work with. It's the same with the military. If we put 10 people together, there is always a leader that will emerge. And obviously you talk about CZ, same thing. I am a product of military upbringing. Good, bad, or indifferent, I think is great, by the way.
Yep.
Everybody should do it. But what it's taught me, teamwork, leadership, honesty, integrity, trust. And I am very okay with, and always have been, surrounding myself with people that are way smarter than me. Look, I can have a vision,
Yeah.
but then I have to have people to execute that vision, and then poke holes in it. And one thing I'm really proud of our whole team is that I can have the idea. I've got people that, I've got chefs, I've got designers, I've got all these things. But unless I allow them to weigh in on the situation and I give my piece, then I ask around the table or on a Zoom, okay, here's the problem. What are your solutions? And what do you think? Because it's okay to come to a problem with me. And we're all around the world, literally. Our team is spread all around, just in Normandy and Scotland and come into Europe in a couple of weeks. So they have to be able to have a voice and feel that their voice is heard. Regardless of whether I'm paying them money to do it, I want to make sure that they're included. They don't feel like nobody cares, number one. And they have 9 out of 10 times different perspectives on what we do about the same problem. So collectively as a team, when you surround yourself with these great people, look, my chefs are 10 times the chef I will ever be, but they don't have the same business brain as I do. So it kind of complements, if it makes sense.
Yeah. It's like the perfect, like everyone, you get all the stuff to make a painting, and then on the floor it looks like a mess, but when you get it up there on the canvas, it's like, oh, now I get it.
Yeah.
Is the Robert Irvine we see on TV, what are the similarities and differences between yourself on when you're out there like that versus like now or at home? Let's say you're with family at Thanksgiving or whatever it is. Are you always the same person, or is it kind of, do you have to flip a switch between?
I'm the same person on TV as I am off. If I
Awesome.
sit with the president of the United States, I do the same thing. I guess I call it Surimam or whatever.
Yeah.
But I am I'm lucky enough to be trusted, and that's a great word, by not only our senior leadership in the country, but also senior leadership in the military, senior leadership in retail and things that I do, because we have a track record of success. All right. I failed a couple of times, absolutely. But I've learned not to fail at the same thing twice.
Right.
So you don't see people laugh. I was on a plane coming from Houston yesterday, and the pilot come out of the plane of the cockpit just to torture me. I'm like, well, who's flying the plane? It's people want to know, and I'm fascinated by people, not movie stars. I'm not that.
Yeah,
I don't care about that, but I'm fascinated by people's journey. So I used to host a talk show, 180 episodes of a talk show. And I got to sit down with Michael Eisner in New York City because they were bidding for the show. And I really didn't want to talk about the show for me. I wanted to know how he ran Disney, the way he ran Disney, and what were the pitfalls and what were the, because I wanted to take the knowledge that he had either been good at or failed at or whatever for my gain, right? So I talk to people. And it can be a janitor, it can be somebody pumping gas, it doesn't matter who it is. I just want to know the journey. And I'm fascinated by most people's journeys, because we all come from different backgrounds and we all have different lessons. And I think for me, the people business is a great business to be in, because we get to learn. There is no straight line in a career, whether you've been in the military like CZ for 30 something years. When you come out, you're not in the military anymore. Nobody's going to jump when you say jump. It's a very different world. And I like that world. I like to be able to learn from those folks.
Now, when something like the pandemic happens, which obviously affected everyone in a global standpoint, you were physically affected from restaurants, and like your obviously your industry was at the forefront of this whole thing with being creative, with spacing and glass, whatever it was. But when you and I think you've helped families that restaurants were affected and stuff. But when that type of stuff happens, how much of the weight of that falls on the shoulders of people like you in this industry, in your industry, that in a time of complete chaos, we need leadership to kind of figure out how to kind of navigate through this. And I think that's why I love I love watching the Food Network because it's just I learned so much about cooking and how to properly do all this stuff. But the idea that there's so many awesome chefs out there, and even ones that are already on the Food Network, they're doing their thing, that we got so creative with their approach to helping families or restaurants. It was kind of surreal that I wish if globally, if other agencies and other like types of careers kind of work together like the restaurant industry did, we'd all be so much better off. It was just weird yet exciting watching your industry kind of come together like that.
It was interesting because COVID, can tell you exactly where I was. March the 16th, I was in Pennsylvania doing a show. March the 17th, I got sick and ended up 2 days in hospital not from the restaurant I was fixing, but from the place I was staying. COVID happened. I was in hospital. I couldn't get anybody to pick me up to take me to the airport. It was crazy. And then I came home. I sat for probably 4 or 5 weeks, and I would get emails out the wazoo, obviously, about restaurants. So I called, who was then Courtney White, who was the president of Food Network, and said, look, I'm getting all these calls and emails, and we need to be on the road, regardless of COVID.
Yeah.
And she said, well, how do we do that? I said, look, we get some buses, tour buses. We put 6 on a bus. We take our truck and we do the shows, and we pretty much, there was COVID guidelines, but we made new
Yeah.
line COVID guidelines for restaurants. And it's so funny. I think we did 66 episodes of TV. We were the only ones on the road, only ones. We had 4 buses, 2 trucks, and we had a little world, and we barbecue in the middle of the buses at night. But we saved 66 restaurants from failure.
Crazy.
And I laugh now because we had so much fun. We'd stop in truck stops. I'm fascinated with trucks. I don't know why, but I am. And we'd have these challenges on the bus, but film them. Get the worst food you can, and somebody had to make something edible on the bus, and we filmed it just for giggles. And it's amazing what you can do with a salami stick and cheese. And it was just a good time. It was, look, nobody liked that we were staying at home. No, we lost a lot of money. Restaurants closed. There was a lot of deaths and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not happy about that. But I feel that it spurred the restaurant industry and the hospitality industry specifically to new heights. All right, we would never have apps and the Door Dashes and all the things that we have now if it wasn't for that. And if you look at our industry, and I just finished talking about it yesterday, we're in the lowest percentage of babies being born in the last 100 plus years. So who's doing these jobs in restaurants? But who's joining the military? Who's doing the cooking? Who's doing the fighting? Who's doing the we're now competing, the hospitality industry, restaurant industry. We're competing with tech. We're competing with the military. We're competing. We just don't have the resources or the people to do the jobs. So now technology has to take over, right? And we have to be really smart. And I just got off the phone just before I got on the air with senior leadership of the Navy, talking about what I saw on ships that are new ships, by the way, but with pulled through technology and not thinking of, we think about armaments and planes and missiles, but we don't think about the below the deck stuff. The military is fighting just as hard as the hospitality industry and every other industry to get people to join, right?
Yeah.
It's different when I was in, and there was a sense of duty, and nowadays if we don't take care of our veterans, and those are 30-year, like the CZs and the Scott Stalkers of the world, and the right, they're the ones telling their kids. I'm not saying they are, by the way, but they're the ones saying, "Oh, don't join the military. You didn't take care of me."
Right.
So I think we've got to get better at the whole circle, right? So we know we don't have the people to do the job. So do we have the product that's enhanced? That means I don't need the person to do the job. So this is kind of technology which we're into in a big way. And I just opened a new restaurant of the future in Andrews Air Force Base that opened a couple of weeks ago, where we're using 2 people and 0 cooking. It's kind of interesting concept.
Yeah.
It's killing it. And people, especially our young military folks, are using this technology because there's 0 wait time.
Right.
You know, so there's a whole ball of wax going on with, you know, how do you lead? How do you make money? How do you teach? How do we take care of all those things?
Right. Well, in terms of recruitment, you kind of talk about, it seems, at least with me, my friends growing up, a lot of my friends, we all went to colleges, 4-year degrees, 6-year degrees, whatever. Some of us still paying debt, where some of our friends went to the trade schools, electrical, plumbing, the chef stuff, the whatever it was, the stuff that wasn't traditional. You look at them and they're maybe just as successful or more successful. A lot of our friends have got these crazy degrees, and it's like they went that route because their heart was in becoming a plumber, taking over the dad's business, or I want to become a star as a sous chef and then become my own executive chef and do all the stuff. It's like, again, how do you recruit to that? Because I think now people are like, this whole being in debt for a degree that means nothing, when ultimately it's who you know and who you are as a person that's going to sell you. Like, how do you get to fill these trade schools back up again? Because while I'm fortunate of my degree and all that stuff, and I actively use it, the friends of mine, they're still paying ungodly amounts of debt, but they're not happy. It's just, I don't know how you find that balance.
Look, I'm going to go back to what I said a minute ago. I make eggs. I joined the military. I didn't have any debt. Well, I did because I was drinking beer when I was a kid all the time. But I didn't go to an Ivy League school. I didn't do, you know, all those things. And my kids have both gone to college, and one's doing the criminal justice now, and one's
Awesome.
in John Hopkins. I didn't have, growing up, my dad was not as affluent as I am, right? I make a little bit more money than my parents did, obviously. So I could take care of my kids and them not have to worry, although I made them work, right? They had to work. It wasn't free. There's nothing free in this life. So they worked. They did their part of the job, which is going to school, get educated, passing exams to be, you know, like just other people with pieces of paper. I don't have any pieces of paper. I have these and this. And I've been lucky enough along the way to find some great mentors, which are great. If you think about mentors, it's great if you have mentors, but you have to have the mindset and the can-do attitude to be able to take on what they want to give you. And unless you have that, I don't care what background you come from, you know, whether you lived under a bridge, whether you have a, you know, $20 million mansion, you only grow if your heart and your mind is open to growing and opening to listening and opening to change, or at least listen to a different thought process. And I think my kids have that. I've learned a lot from my wife, right? She does television for wrestling. I do television for food. Two different things, but it works really well because she sees things that I don't, and vice versa. I see things in her world that I think they can change and be better at. So I think it's great when you have the ability to have a partner, husband, wife, friends, or whatever, that are not afraid to talk to you about, hey, I wouldn't do that. And why are you doing that?
Right.
So whether you have a piece of paper from Harvard or you have, you know, you make eggs in the Pentagon, you know, there are 2 different things. Do you have the people skills because you have a piece of paper from Harvard, or do you have street smart skills? And I think both of those come in when I wrote the book, overcoming impossible, it was because I couldn't touch more than one restaurant a week. And I was having 2,000 asks a week to fix a restaurant. So I wrote the book, but the book actually goes into Fortune 500 companies, whether you're Walmart, American Airlines, Cisco Foods, Comcast, NBC, the life lessons and the business lessons are the same, whether you're a mom and pop $350,000 a year or you're a $200 billion. It's the same thing, it's just scalable.
Right. The idea of having a restaurant in the Pentagon, it just sounds like science fiction to me. Like, it's just like, how cool is that for you when you were like, the day came where it's like, hey, we're going to put your fresh kitchen in here? Like, that just seems remarkable to me.
Well, I did the RFP, and the funny part was it took 2 years to actually build that restaurant. It was already a restaurant, but because of bureaucracy of systems, so we had blueprints, we had to use the builder that was cleared by the Pentagon. We had all those things that are secret, right? Because of tie-ins to sewer pipes, to technology lines, to all the things that go on. And what was supposed to be a $500,000 build turned out to be a $2.6 million build, right? Because one guy would say, put it over here, then the other guy would come and inspect it. No, it should have went over there, Eventually we got the restaurant open, and it was a decision that I made, not to make money. It was a decision to serve. Now that sounds really weird, but during COVID, we were the only people to keep that restaurant open not 24/7, but almost, to make sure that the Pentagon folks that were still working there could get fed. Nobody else was in the building. It was just us. Did I lose money? Absolutely. But I was in the ability, I had the ability that it was okay, right? Because my psyche said, don't worry about it, just do the service. And it panned out and it played out. And for me, I go to bed, or I went to bed at night knowing that we're taking care of the country by taking care of these folks.
Right. It's the correlation between the idea of fitness and health and eating is always interesting to me, because I love to eat great food. But as I've gotten older, I'm getting close to 40 now, I've realized that in order, if I can eat that stuff, right? Moderation, I get all that, but I also have to put the time in the gym, whether it's running and the fitness stuff. It's like, when did you realize that for you, the fitness was so vital to what you do?
When I was 11 years old. I mean, my mother bought me my first set of weights. It was a weeder. I never forget it. I would read secondhand Muscle and Fitness and Flex and all these things. My mother would find them. I don't know where she got them, but I was fascinated by Schwarzenegger.
Oh yeah.
It's so funny because he still sits on a pinnacle for me, regardless of all the other stuff he's done. But what he's been able to do for fitness. So I would get these magazines, read them, and say, one day I'm gonna be like him, not as muscular from Austria, but my mother, and we didn't have much money, and that's a true story, but she found a set of Weider weights, the gold weights. And one day I get a set of weights, and on the front of my kitchen window, I would work out every day when I come home from school. So fitness to me has always been a priority. And then, so through the Navy, it was a priority. I was a cross-country runner. I was a weightlifter. Then when I'm out of that and I meet my wife, who's a professional wrestler, who watches what she eats and all that kind of stuff, it was kind of a natural thing. I would not go as far to say that I'm as strict as she is, because she's strict. I eat what I want, when I want, and then figure it out. But it was great to have a partner, a wife that had the same mindset as me. So fitness has always been part of my life. I'm 59 years old now, so you're a puppy. I was in the gym this morning. I'm in the gym every day. I just did the big march, the hike, and this year we set record time for it. And I've got, new hips. Um, and yet I was better this year than I was 10 years ago. So I think that perpetual continuation of those fitness goals. I make my team 1 hour a day, no matter what time it is. They have to work out any way they want. That's mandatory. I don't give office hours. I don't tell them when to work, because if I get a call from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, or I get a call from the president's office, or I get a call that something has to happen, we have a rule in my company: you get 15 minutes. If I call you, you get 15 minutes to pick up that call, because somebody else is depending on it.
Right.
And it's funny because our team has been together for so long. If somebody goes on vacation, I don't tell them, oh, you can go on 2 weeks and you got your PTO, and we don't do that. You want to go on vacation for a month, go, but it's got to be covered. I don't stop your pay, we pay you. That's the way we've been for 16, 17 years. And our team has grown. In 17 years, we have lost 3 people.
Jeez.
Because we chose to lose them. They were senior military that couldn't adapt to the outside world.
Yeah.
Right. And when you're a CW5, people jump for you. But when you're CW5 and you're outside, you got to do the work. It is what it is. So in that amount of time, we've only lost 3 people in our entire company because we chose to. It's a great environment. We work for each other. There is no dog eat dog. In other words, if somebody comes up to me and says, hey, Robert, this guy is, he's useless. I said, did you talk to him? Have you been to talk to him? Because if you haven't, you're out. Because you're no good. I don't want that, what's the word I'm looking for? Where you diss somebody else to get somewhere. There's a word.
Yeah, you're not using it for like a stepping stool. You're not.
I would lose you. I don't care how good you are. The minute you start trashing somebody and you haven't had the decency to talk to them, you're no good to me, right? And I have amazing people that have the ability to make decisions, with informing me, of course, but without being held on a leash, if that makes sense. Because I feel if I don't allow the people to do their job and give them the tools, how can I expect them to do the job?
Right.
And I see it all the time in big companies. I walk into big companies, and I've just named some of them. And I look and I say, okay, who's doing what, why, when, where, and why do we have 15 levels of reporting when we don't need that? If you trust this guy, you put him in a senior position, he's got to be able to make a decision up to a certain point, right? Be it money value or whatever. But you got to allow them to do the job. You've also got to allow them to have your input, but then let them go their own way if they feel that way.
Right.
And then go hold them. I set expectations. I give my 10 cents worth of how I would do it. Then I allow you to go and run and do it the way you feel, as long as you're not going to lose money. And if you make a mistake, I'm going to hold you accountable for the mistake. Just because I want you to understand the gravity of what you just did. And then I want you to go back and understand the steps that made you fail.
Right.
I'm okay taking chances, but they have to have a mitigated risk to them.
Right.
And I think that's why we've thrived, because I've allowed, look, I told you I'm 59. My COO is 34. Right. So I've got a wealth of experience. This guy's smart. And he will tell me when he doesn't agree with me. And I'm okay with that. Given the surroundings of, closed door, not in front of everybody else, just like in the military, respect and whatnot. You can tell me anything. I don't chastise people in front of other people, and nor should you. So I think it works really well for us that we have such energetic, enthusiastic team that wants the same as me, not only to make money, but also to do good with that money.
Right.
Not only for the families and whatnot, but also for the foundations that we support. This the Special Operations Warrior Foundation, TAPS, the Sinise Foundation, all the
Yeah.
people we work with. I can only do that because we're successful in business.
Yep. Now, obviously, you're very proud and excited for everything the foundation's done, but where do you like? Is there parts of this where you want to see it go higher and further? Like, how do you compartmentalize the idea of this philanthropy work of yours where you want to help everyone you can?
Well, you know yourself, you can't. You have to limit those things. I think I look at foundations that are self-sustaining. You know, Gary Sinise makes 80 million a year for his foundation. I don't need to give him money. I give him time, right?
Right.
TAPS, Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. One of my close friends, Bonnie Carroll, does amazing things. I support them 1,000% because they're really tackling the suicide issue right now, which is a huge part for me. My foundation is all about mental and physical health. I want to get you out of a room, into a bike, onto an iBot, or doing some kind of thing. So we just took 25 wounded, ill and injured warriors into Scotland after doing Normandy for 5 days with 150 World War II veterans, right? That the foundation fed, right? With American Airlines, our great partner. And then we went straight to Scotland. We did this march. Next year, I'll take 100 people, right, from our foundation, because I truly believe that getting people out with a mindset around other warriors, whether as long as they're coalition warriors, no matter where they're from, the mindset starts to give self-worth. You know, when you leave the military, and you know this, when you leave the military, there's a piece of you that's left somewhere not knowing, what am I going to do next? I was this, and now I've got nothing, if that makes sense. What do I do and I've got a 30-year Air Force guy right now that I'm walking through his depression because he's lost this self-worth. Right. And I think that's a big thing about Breaking Bread for Heroes, where we feed literally 300 to 3,000 twice a week somewhere around the world, active duty today, as we sit here. While I was in Scotland, we have 500 rescue swimmers at an event in Alabama while I'm in Scotland doing this. And so I think the future of our foundation is, I want to build a retreat somewhere. I already know where it is, but I can't tell you yet. That allows people to bring their families, their Gold Star families, and be amongst people. But at the same time, train. I want it to be a school to train certain things, right? Not only hospitality, but if you're into computers, a computer. I want that transitional skill to be able to put you to where you want to go, and you don't know where you want to go yet.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I want to give, there are 1,500 double amputees on the whole war on terror. I want everyone to have a bike, a bowhead bike that's 20 miles an hour. It's like a BMX bike, but it's powered. We give away, I think, 3 last year. I want to give everybody one, but they're $50,000 each. So it's work. It's like an iBot. It's like a dog. Reuniting the brave. We just had 750 1st Battalion, 5th Marines in San Diego. Haven't seen each other for 20 years. So it's reconnecting those lines of communication and men and women you served with to help you get out of the funk of oh, I left the military. Some people go on to do amazing things. Some people double amputees. My hope and goal is that we can say, yes, double amputee, but here's what happened. 11 surgeries, 9 years later, look at what this guy, look at the success of this serving hero. Because we always focus on what I believe oh, the poor guy, he got blown up. He's not complaining, but we sympathize, and I think what we need to do to better the veteran community is hold them up
Celebrate it.
in yeah, and really say, look, yes, it did this, but look at the guts of this guy. This is what he's done. We're about to come on with a program called Let's Chow, and the guy who runs it, Foley, Lieutenant Commander, a JAG active duty guy.
Awesome.
We're taking the program this year where we put people in food trucks and we train them on food trucks, veterans, teach them how to money. We keep them in there 4 or 5 months till they feel good. Then we'll put them in brick and mortar restaurants on basis, right? So they never lose that connection, and we know they're going to be successful. So I think for me, the foundation is the legacy, not TV shows, not money, not what have we done to really change the lives of those folks that have gone through hell and come back.
Yeah.
Sit in that room, and they sit in that room and they go, what? It's not worth it for me. It's not, that's the future of the foundation, is continue to build our own programs. Because originally it was kind of, oh, we'll make the money, we'll pass it out to other foundations. And then I'm like, no, I want my own programs. I want my own staffing. And we're doing that. And we've been doing that for the last 2 years, and we continually grow. And you talked to CZ about the program he's about to come up, jump off with in Puerto Rico, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And that's the first start. And then we're going to scale that to every city in the US. And I'm really excited for that, because I see that vision, but he's the guy, right? We'll get it funded, and we'll make a difference in all the states, not just Puerto Rico. But he wants to start there, and I'm like, yeah, absolutely, let's do it. So
does the weight of all the stuff you do for others ever hit you some days where, like, you have a bad day, like your mental health day, where you just don't feel like, I just want to stay in bed? Or does the energy of the people you're helping and the team you surround yourself with kind of help you not have those days? But if you do, then it'll help pick up the slack and you guys go forward.
I said I travel 345 days a year. I go nonstop to the point of my wife will say, "Okay, stop now. You need a break. You haven't seen me. You haven't seen the girls. You haven't seen this." And I'm like, "Okay, we'll fly the girls to me." I don't think there's ever a day that I feel despondent or depressed, or because I know I get up every day, and I mean this most sincerely. I get up every day because I know there's somebody else there having a worse day than me, and I can affect that. Even if it's on a social media post, or I started doing these motivational Monday posts about a month ago, and it's amazing the amount of people we touch around the globe, not just here, saying, "Oh, thank you. This is what I needed today." So that excites me. That gets me out of bed. I had surgery on my mouth yesterday, and believe me, it was sore. And I got up this morning, go to a gym, and the guy comes up to me and says, "Hey, I just want to say, I'm a retired SEAL team guy." And I said, "Well, thank you for your service." He said, "No, thank you for you don't remember this, but in 2015, in the Helmand province, you made a meal." And I said,
Wow.
and I get that. I just did a signing in Pennsylvania. 1,200 people show up at a liquor store for my vodka and gin and some other things. And out of those 1,200 people, there was probably 20 that I'd run into before on military bases in Okinawa, Afghanistan, Iraq, Poland, Spain. And I've seen some of these kids. They were kids, and now they're full adults. And I think that's the exciting part about what we do. We never stop. I took Kurt Busch out on a USO tour. It wasn't a USO tour. It was a military. Oh, what was it called? I forgot now. It wasn't USO, but it was a military tour
Organization like that, yeah.
Out to Gitmo, and I've been going to Gitmo since way before waterboarding ever started. I mean, there was no buildings there. It was just clamshells when I was there the first time. Um, and the minute we land, we don't stop. We work out, we cook, we feed, we interact, we make coffee. There's always a go. And he said, I don't know how you keep up this level of intensity. I said, because this is the only time these folks get to see something. And it's so funny. My sister's son is in Afghanistan right now. He's in the Scots Guards. And he texted me yesterday. He said, "Hey, I'm in the American base now with some folks, and everybody loves you." And he sent pictures of FitCrunch and all these other things there,
Yeah.
So I think that's the excitement for me is doing things and getting stuff done.
Yeah.
For people, whether you're a firefighter in Florida, we've got a couple of dogs on the fire trucks because they go through as much PTS as our military, some cases more. But I feel that, in such a woke society we've become now, right?
Yes.
You can't say anything because half of the country doesn't like it, half the country doesn't like it. And I'm like, look, all I care about are those that wear the cloths, those that have given the ultimate sacrifice, our Medal of Honor recipients, their families, and our first responders, because they're out there every day doing a job so we can do this.
Yeah.
And I feel America's forgotten. Everybody was gung-ho and together as a great nation in 9/11, and then we've lost that.
Yeah. It tapers off.
And somehow we need to get that back because America is the greatest country in the world.
Yeah.
It really is. Look, I became a citizen 20 years ago. I dropped my British citizenship to become an American citizen because I truly believe, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
Well, you kind of filled us in about the goals of the foundation. Now, before I let you go, in terms of TV, Food Network stuff, anything you can try to share that's kind of coming up that you want to talk about?
We have a new show coming out. It will be on a major network. That's all I can tell you.
Awesome.
A couple of shows actually, but on a major network, and I'll probably announce it next week or the week after, the minute they say it's okay to announce it. Doing similar things. Also, I did a show maybe 8 years ago, 7 years ago, taking care of veterans. You may see another one of them coming out. Shark Tankish kind of things.
Yeah, awesome.
So there's a lot on the TV world happening. Company-wise, we keep buying companies and partnering with people. And, we're into drones, we're into IT, we're into robotics, we're into AI, we're into clothing, we're into nutrition and food. And but one thing I tell people all the time is, look, we own the manufacturing, we own the distribution, we don't just slap a name, and that's one thing I'm very proud of. Everything you see my name on, we own it, right? From the minute it's a raw product till the minute we push it out the door. So FitCrunch and the food line and the distillery, we own all those things, and the reason we do that is because then at the end of the year I can say, okay, a percentage of this revenue goes into the foundation. So we guaranteed money as well as fundraising, but we guaranteed money to be able to run the programs that we run or buy the bikes and the wheelchairs and the things that we do. And that goes for, food insecurity. I mean, we give out $500 gift cards to active duty men and women to buy food. 1 in 4 of our active duty military are food insecure. How can that be in the United States of America?
Crazy.
So there are so many facets, and I would just say if people want to know what we do, go to robertirvinefoundation.org and make sure you have a box of tissues with you. But there's some great stories of resiliency and that excites me. These guys, Dave Reed, who lost his leg, a ranger, lost his leg in Afghanistan. Dear friend of mine, been doing the Yomp. I met him on the Yomp 10 years ago. It was our 10th year anniversary this year. Very proud of how he was a sergeant and now he's a 4-star general running a company. Literally doing a great job, and they're the successes. Mike Schlitz, sorry, who's 90% Burns. He's an ambassador and works with these successes are what drives me, and it's not about me, and it's only this last couple of years that we've really started to showcase what the foundation is doing, because I always felt if we showed it, people would think it would be like, oh, he's doing it because it's about him, and it's not. But if I don't tell a story, and the stories that are so impactful, we can't get the fundraising, and we can't do the things, and all those kind of things. So for me, I would say a good 80% of my time now is foundation stuff.
Awesome.
Yes, we do the TV, of course we do, and we do the other stuff. But day-to-day running, I mean, I'm working on a huge project with the military right now on modernization of feeding, with the Army, Navy, Air Force, all those folks. The Army's leading the way with General George. So that takes up a lot of time, but it's all, again, military driven for the betterment. And by the way, I don't get paid. It's $1.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's because I believe that's a place where we can really make an impact and an effort on recruitment, retention, resiliency, all those things that we talk about. Nothing better than a good old plate of food at the end of a shitty day, right?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. This I can't thank you enough, Robert, for jumping on here, learning more about you and understanding your foundation. And I wish you all the success, and I hope you continue to keep changing lives the way you do.
Well, look, if I can be of any help to you, I'm here. That's what I believe networks do. We, the old adage, together everyone achieves more, as in team. I can't do it all alone. That's why I need partners, good partners, to be able to share in that burden of enlightenment of the world. But I've got the platform, but I like good partners. So if you need anything, let me know, and I'd love to help.
Love you, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Oh, hello. I'm just enjoying this nice fucking candle. Anyways, I'm John, the host of Spirit Talk, and I want to talk to you about nice fucking candles. We are lucky to have Nice Fucking Candles as a sponsor of the podcast. And if you use code SPIRITTALK15, you get 15% off your first order, or use the affiliate link below to always get your candle needs through Nice Fucking Candles. Nice Fucking Candles are 100% soy wax. They have a 65-hour burn time, maybe more if you nurse the flame a little bit. Maybe, I don't know, I'm not an expert on flames or candles, but I will say these things burn a long fucking time. You ask me about the wick. It's a double wick for even burning, which is amazing. And they come with 3 incredible flavors. I'm not sure if you're going to be eating these candles, but if you do like them, the scents are eucalyptus and ginseng, tobacco and fireside, and seaside and driftwood. Once again, Nice Fucking Candles. They are the candle company for Spirit Talk. And if you love candles and need a good scent to clear out your office, your room, your podcast room, your weight room, your whatever you're doing in a room that smells like crap, use this candle. It's amazing. Thank you. Check them out. Love Nice Fucking Candles.